Now to politics tonight. New revelations on how the president's former campaign chair violated his plea agreement.
And President Donald Trump's former personal attorney could end up behind bars for his crimes. KCAL 9 political reporter Dave Bryan here with the latest on the Russia investigation.
And there's a big difference tonight about the impact of these the actions today. In fact, depends on who you talk to. Tonight, President Trump says he's all clear in the Russia investigation, but his former attorney, also known as the Fixer, is accused of committing 2 crimes in coordination with and at the direction of individual number 1. That's President Trump. That on a day when President Trump's former campaign chairman was accused by the special counsel of building a mountain of lies and deception. The special counsel didn't hold back about former Trump campaign chair Paul Manafort. He said the convicted criminal told multiple discernible lies to prosecutors. Among them, Manafort's contact with a man named Konstantin Kilimnik, a Russian tied to Moscow's intelligence services, accused of hacking the Democratic National Committee. And there were also lies alleged about witness tampering in his bank fraud trial, about a $125,000 wire transfer to a firm he hired, and communications with the White House in 2018. Special counsel Robert Mueller's team alleges Manafort reached out to the White House in February and May of this year, long after Manafort had already been charged with serious crimes. Manhattan Beach Congressman Ted Lieu, a former prosecutor and a member of the House Judiciary Committee, told CNN that last item got his attention.
On the Paul Manafort filing, it's very disturbing that Paul Manafort still had communications with Trump administration officials as late as this year. And we want to know, what did he talk to Trump administration officials about?
Hi, Mike. What do you think is going to happen today?
Meanwhile, President Trump's former attorney, Michael Cohen, learned what could happen to him next week. In a court filing on Friday, New York federal prosecutors say Cohen should go to jail for 4 years for his crimes. Tax evasion, making false statements to financial institutions, illegal campaign contributions, namely the so-called hush money payments to 2 women who say they had affairs with Mr. Trump, and lying to Congress about his communications with then-candidate Trump about building a tower in Moscow. And there's new information about Cohen and his reported Russian contacts revealed in the special counsel's separate filing. In that separate memo to the judge, lawyers for the special counsel's office say Cohen met with investigators from the special counsel's office on 7 separate occasions and provided useful information about discrete Russia-related matters core to its investigation.
What really matters here, and what's highly, highly significant, is how Michael Cohen helped Robert Mueller's investigation of relations between Donald Trump and Russia. What is really significant here, I think, is that Cohen told Mueller's office about more contacts between Trump's orbit and it appears Trump himself and Russia. And that's why we're here.
The special counsel's filing also revealed that Russia reached out to the Trump campaign as early as November 2015, a full year before the presidential election, offering political synergy and proposing a meeting between candidate Trump and Russian leader Vladimir Putin.
The president clearly has surrounded himself with people that are willing to commit crimes and have been found guilty of crimes. You might say he's the head of a criminal family.
President Trump, however, does not see it that way. He tweeted, "Totally clears the president. Thank you." Now, clearly, the most damaging revelation for President Trump in today's court filings is the contention by the New York federal prosecutors we talked about, directly tying the president to potential criminal conduct in making those hush payments during the presidential campaign to 2 women to keep them silent about allegedly having affairs with him. Crystal, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Dave.